Welcome to the reading and analysis of the poem The Autograph Tree by Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri. Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri is known for his enormous contributions to Malayalam literature as a poet par excellence. He is the recipient of several awards for his poetry, which include the prestigious Kerala Sahitya Academy Award in 1979, Kendra Sahitya Academy Award in 1994, Odakural Award in 1983, Ashan Prize in 1996, Changambura Award in 1989, and Ullur Award in 1992. The title of Sahitya Kalanidhi and Academy Award for Total Contribution also have been conferred on him. Some of the most acclaimed poems of Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri are സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തിലേക്ക് കുറിച്ചൊരു ഗീതം, ഭൂമിഗീതങ്ങൾ, ഇന്ത്യ എന്ന വികാരം, മുഖം എവിടെ, അപരാജിത, അതിർത്തിയിലേക്കൊരു യാത്ര, അരണ്യകം, that inimitable collection of romantic verses, പ്രണയ ഗീതങ്ങൾ, and the recently published one, പരിക്രമം, ഉജ്ജയിനിയിലെ രാപ്പകലുകൾ, and ശ്രീവല്ലി. Namboodhiri's works are known for their blend of tradition and modernity. A scholar of Indian classical and Western literature and philosophy, his poems stand out on account of their philosophic depth. Poetry, according to Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri, is something that should create tranquility in a human mind and thereby lead one to karma. Anything that evokes mental tumult and agony is not poetry. He believes that poetry is a sort of catalyst which promotes introspection to know and learn more about oneself. His poetic talents that came to him as gifts from his traditional background got refined and revitalized over the years by learning from the lives of Sri Narayana Guru, Kumaran Ashan, Vallathol Narayana Menon, and by his long associations with late poets like Idesheri Govindan Nair and Vailopalli Sridhara Menon. An eminent academic, Namboodhiri had taught literature in colleges in Kerala for long. He has his own political outlook. He wrote and spoke praising the workers who took part in Punapura Vayalar struggles. He did not hesitate to criticize the Vimojana Samaram in 1959 and hailed the communist ministry for bringing the education and land reform bills. During the period of censorship and emergency, he was the editor of Grantha Logam. The poem The Autograph is taken from the collection Parikramam, which came out in 1998. It is an outcome of Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri's visit to Ireland, where he visited Cool Park. He came across a tree engraved with the signatures of great Irish writers. The poem is about a beech tree located in Cool Park in Ireland. And before that, there actually exists a tree which gets its common name autograph tree because of its leaves. It is native to Caribbean islands and nothing to do with the tree in Cool Park in Ireland. And this autograph tree is common in tropical and subtropical regions of the world, Hawaii, Madagascar, and so on. And one can engrave or inscribe message or signature with sharp object or an empty ballpoint pen refer on the leaf surface, and the impressions remain as long as the leaves are appended to the tree, as the large, stiff, thick, dark green, waxy leaves are unique with special feature. The inscribed areas become white and more prominent the next day, as if painted white. Cool Park was the country estate of Irish writer and folklorist Lady Augusta Gregory, who also confronted the famous amphitheatre in who also co-founded the famous Abbey Theatre in Dublin. Lady Gregory is an important figure of the early 20th century Irish literary revival. Coole Park, an idyllic getaway, became a hub for Irish literature and art, with many famous writers taking various trips to the park. During their stay, they would carve their names into the huge beech tree that stands to this day inside the walled garden. We can still make out the marks of iconic figures such as George Bernard Shaw, W.B. Yeats, Douglas Hyde, Jean Acasi, J.M. Singh, Lady Gregory, and so on. They are all deceased now. Of course, these literary giants who were involved in the Irish literary revival at the start of the 20th century, yet their spirits still inhabit the special tree amongst the silent woods. For the signatures that have faded over the years, the park has provided a handy chart to show the visitors what famous signature they are viewing. The estate has also been mentioned in many literary works such as The Wild Swans at Coole and Coole Park by W.B. Yeats. After being acquired by the state, the grounds were turned into a public park and nature reserve. With this background, let's read the poem The Autograph Tree, where Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri is reminiscent of the experience that he had in Ireland. Please turn to page 17. The Autograph Tree. Along the valleys down which the gods return from hunts, along the path of swans in flight, greeting the cold ripples of waterfalls with fish turning and twisting, illuminating the core of Ben Bulben, laid out for the carnival of life, along the royal path that reeks of blood of suicide squads, along the path of deliverance, rested with firm steps, head held high in the tales of Kiltartan heroes. Everywhere I look for the light that touched the hearts of great men nurtured by divine grace. The poet begins the poem by describing the setting, the estate, the Coole Park, and he talks about the valleys in Ireland and says once gods used to rest in these valleys after they have come from the hunt, and along the paths swans flew, and the flight there were ripples in the cold water, there is a waterfall, fishes turning and twisting, and then there is this Ben Bulben. It's actually a large flat-topped rock formation in Ireland. W.B. Yeats has written a poem on this rock formation, Ben Bulben, under the Ben Bulben. And along the royal path that smells or stings of the blood of suicide squads, he refers to the freedom struggle of Ireland, how people died, how soldiers died, how the heroes of this small village called Kiltartan, the heroes of that countryside died for their own country, for the freedom of their country. Along the path of deliverance, rested with firm steps, head held high in the stories of those soldiers of Kiltartan. Kiltartan is a small village, a hamlet there. Everywhere I look for the light that touched the hearts of great men nurtured by divine grace. And when he looked around the park, he saw the light of divine inspiration which touched the hearts of great men. So in that park, it is reminiscent of the divine inspiration that the Irish writers got to write. This forest land I arrive at the time when flowers bloom, my feet tired with creepers, these granny trees, the ones who nursed history, the ones who cool the midday sun, its heat on their canopies, it's they who take me around. And then he talks about the climate, the season. It is spring, flowers are blooming, and there are creepers. And he's in awe, seeing the huge trees that nursed history. I stopped before a huge tree, big enough for 5 men to hold, tough as the Anjanam stone, wide-eyed. I look, some have scribbled the truth with styluses on its craggy bark, yogis, warriors, elders and panans, those who knit into shape the treasured picture of their motherland. So he stopped before a beech tree, a huge tree, tough as the Anjanam, mythical Anjanam stone, big, so big that only 5 men could hardly hold it. And he could see something scribbled on the bark with pen. On the craggy bark, yogis, warriors, and many more have scribbled something. The signs of life melt down as letters and names on the bark, scraped with blades, living pictures, signatures. Then he gives a list. Who are those people who have carved their signatures? Lady Augusta Gregory, who sacrificed everything for war. Gold, dear son, a family of fame. Young Singh, who gave voice to the agony of Aran Islands. Shaw, who shook your pride with his arrow of truth and laughter. William Butler Yeats, the man of long penance, who distilled the past to fill the mind with the rustic wisdom of today. They are the ones who, with a twang of their little venas, send a shiver down the spine of those who smiled their white smiles and plundered the country. So he gives a list of Irish writers who fought for their country's freedom with their pen, with their venas, with their poetry, who sent a shiver down the spine of the British who plundered their land. As I kiss these signatures with lips moist with tears, which wavy ocean rose in my heart, Vallathol, Bharadiyar, Rabindranath Tagore, the light of Bengal, Neruda, who pledged himself to his land, Sikalianios, who adored Adina. Wherever prisons had been erected around the truth, there arose the sound of the word, hard as diamond, breaking the lock. Remember the legacy of the land, the courage of the peasants, the wisdom of the sages, all that creates the history of modern man, shining a comely dimple in his words, hiding the arms of war inside. Sridhara Menon Master whispers in my inner ear, our ancestors are the ones who burnt a torch with this fire. So as he kissed the signature with tears in his eyes, he looked into his own heart. What is the ocean, wavy ocean that rose in the heart of Vishnu Narayanan Namboodhiri? Then he is reminiscent of the Malayalam writers, the Indian writers, the writers of various freedom struggles, Vallathol, Bharadiyar, Rabindranath Tagore, Neruda or from Chile, Sikalonius, a Greek poet. And then he says, wherever prisons had been erected, wherever people fought for freedom, there arose the sound of the word, the poetry. It is hard as a diamond, breaking the lock and giving freedom to the people. Remember the legacy of the land, the courage of the peasants, the wisdom of sages, and these are the things that create the history of modern man. Shining calmly in his words, hiding the arms of war inside. It's not the war, the weapons that is used for war, but the weapons are of words, sharpened words. Then he hears something that Sridhara Menon Master, the poet Vailopalli Sridhara Menon, whispering in his inner ear. Our ancestors are the ones who burnt a torch with this fire of creativity, fire of poetic inspiration. And walking back from this Naimisha forest, where the leaves fall in the wind blowing, separating the grain of human history from the chaff, a new wisdom dawns on me. My head held low in respect, poetry stands guard to freedom. It is a shield against the night's huge invisible net of bondage. Poetry is wisdom to the world. So after walking back from this mythical forest, or he actually compares the cool park with the Naimisha forest, the mythical forest where the sages recited the story of Ramayana and Mahabharata. So he compares this cool park with the Naimisha forest and says, walking back from this forest, where the leaves fall in the wind blowing, separating grain of human history from the chaff, a new wisdom dawns on me. And he thinks, there is a revelation. He got a revelation when he was walking back. My head held low in respect to poetry, to the poetic geniuses. And then this is the revelation that he gets. That is, poetry stands guard to freedom. So where there is a struggle for freedom, a struggle for independence, there is poetry which comes up and it guards freedom. And it's a shield against the night's huge invisible net of bondage, against suffering, against oppression, against bondage. Poetry is wisdom to the world, and that is what gives freedom. And with this nugget of wisdom, he ends the poem, The Autograph Tree. Thank you.